moving right along.
All right, recording started.
Okay. Come in.
Hey Brett, how are you doing? Copeland Pettifield.
Hey, Coach. Good to see you.
I'd like to introduce you to Alex Lewandowski.
Gosh, welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Good to see you guys. Come on.
We're excited to be here today.
Well, good. I'm excited you guys are here, right? It's beautiful weather out.
Yes.
Enjoying finally some fresh air. And
Yes, sir.
a little pollen out there, but you know, hey, take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
How's MSU football looking like this year?
Well, went to spring game.
Awesome.
Looked pretty good.
Yes, sir.
Still have high hopes to bring it back to the glory days of Coach Bowden.
Yes, sir.
But we'll see what happens.
As I know they opened against LSU this year in the Superdome.
I know, isn't that
Looking
crazy?
forward to that game.
Gosh.
Yes, sir. Well, if it's okay with you, we'd like to confirm the meeting time.
Yeah. So once again, thank you so much for having us here. Beautiful facility you have, but I understand we have about 20 minutes. Is that about right?
That's still a good time, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Unfortunately, today's a tough day, but I wanted to make sure I give you guys a good 20 minutes to go over the program.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. I mean, we understand tight, busy schedule, but something that we brought a proposal today for you. We just kind of wanted to go over three main areas.
Okay.
We wanted to go over minimum recommended coverages that we had, some value-added services that All American Insurance can provide for you, as well as some other strategies that we came up with to help your business grow in the future. But I know after talking with Copeland, about your previous meetings and looking over some notes, you kind of had two main concerns from your last meetings. Does that sound kind of correct?
Yeah, from that meeting, but things have happened since then.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. We'd love to know if anything's changed. I know when you first met, you kind of were concerned with our level of experience with similar clients, as well as what happens, if a claim arises or
Right.
something happens. So what else has changed, if anything?
well, you brought up claims, and since our last meeting, we talked about, we've been doing this lighting manufacturing for a while. So some of our older installations are now being retrofitted with LED lights. And recently, had a storm, and lightning struck the canopy where the light was installed, which caused a fire, which caused the store and the canopy to burn down, and some cars that were parked in the parking lot.
Wow.
Those claims were turned in to the convenience store carrier and certainly our insurance company. And that carrier is saying that the retrofitting of the light is what caused the fire, where our insurer is saying it was simply a lightning strike. And it was an act of God, so now we're butting heads of who's going to be responsible for this unfortunate loss.
Yeah.
So, in saying that to you today, does that change anything of any recommendations or how you guys would handle that if I had All American as my agency?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, thankfully we've kind of thought through a scenario almost very similar to that. You're not our first lighting manufacturing company that we've worked with. So we're pretty familiar on the risks that come with that business, and we're hoping to just kind of shed more light on that during our proposal.
Okay, all right. Looking forward to it, because right now it's certainly keeping me up at night.
Yeah.
And I need my sleep.
Yes, sir. Well, if we'd love to look over this.
Okay.
As we look at it, we'll give a brief kind of descriptions for your company, what you do. Here's some of our minimum coverages that we were suggesting that are not included in the regular commercial package policy. And here's some other recommended coverages we'll talk about. And if you flip over, here's a description at the top of what our company is and what we do. Just a brief description and some other value-added services that we'll briefly hit as well.
Okay.
But as we first want to talk about some of the minimum recommended coverages on the first page.
All right.
That aren't covered in the commercial package policy, or some property, general liability, wind and flood, because being in Florida, we know that it's included in property. Host liquor, product liability, equipment breakdown, umbrella, business interruption, workers' compensation, non-owned auto liability, errors and omission, and cybersecurity. We know that's been cybersecurity's been an increasing issue in the past coming years, especially with like things turning with tech. We know actually even this past year the pipeline got hacked through a cyber attack. So we know that's been a big issue in the insurance industry. Actually, has increased over 300% actually in the past year or so, at least in the risk management insurance industry.
So do you think IQL has a cyber, I mean, I'm a small business owner in Panama City.
Yeah.
I mean, but you think they're coming after me?
I mean, nobody thinks that they're going to come after you, right? But do you have any like employee documents that are held online, such as social security numbers or maybe
Well, that's how we do payroll.
Payroll, yeah, exactly. So maybe if we look further into it and as we continue conversations, maybe you don't need exactly that insurance policy, but maybe you just beef up your security protocols, have second authentications for it. And maybe just beef up some of those protocols and stuff. So maybe that's something that we look into. And these are just
our suggestions.
Yeah, you don't cover every risk under the sun that we want to make sure. So you this is around. Yeah.
Again, you're right, but I look at what you said, the pipeline or Target or Google or American Express, and here I'm just a manufacturer in Panama City, and I'm going, what do I have? But you're right, I probably have some stuff that I'm not thinking of.
I know those cyber attacks are usually the first ones that hit the news, while other smaller companies may not be in the news stations, but they're definitely being hit by the cyber attacks.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And then kind of just going over to the back side of that, if you flip that over, we do have some value-added services. So kind of to address what happens, when a claim arises.
Right.
The lightning strike. On the front of the page, I know one thing that we have was product liability coverage. That's going to cover you if it was in fact the retrofitting that caused the fire.
Okay.
Because it was a liability within the product. So that would cover. But kind of one of the first value-added services we have is what happens when a claim occurs catastrophe strikes, right? What we have is we have access to loss prevention strategies, and we have a team of claim advocates. It's not just us. We have a whole team of people behind us. We're a very large agency, and we are well equipped to deal with claims. And so when catastrophe does strike, we also have access to remediation services and construction teams. So, if there was damage to your manufacturing facility ever, say a hurricane blew through here, right? I mean, some businesses can be down for quite a few weeks, and we have the access to construction team that will just get your business back up and running a lot quicker than it would without those. But going back to that, the claims, we just want to make sure that with us, with our team of claim advocates, I mean, we're going to fight for you, and they're going to be there, and they're going to be able to do the analysis that they need to do to make sure that they really identify who's at fault here, as well as, the third-party contract risk. That's the third little box down there.
Yeah.
Just kind of skipping a little ahead. We do have a team of attorneys on staff, so we are able to perform contractual reviews with our third-party contractors. Which, talking to Copeland, I understand use quite a few of them, as well as review certificates of insurance. So we're going to make sure that.
So insurance agents, lawyers, man, all in one building.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Interesting.
Yes, sir. We're quite a big, large agency, but we enjoy it over there. So they would just do your certificates of insurance. We want to make sure they're covered. So catastrophe does strike, the indemnification falls on them.
Okay.
And not on you. But then kind of going up to that.
And that's, excuse me, but that's part of your service? Or
Yes,
is that, I could pay extra for that?
That's part of our
Part of our
service.
service.
Okay.
Yes, sir. All of our clients receive those same benefits. So we like to do contractual reviews for everyone, review certificates of insurance for everyone.
Okay.
As well as, everyone has access to our claims advocate teams and remediation services and construction teams. But kind of going to the coverage gaps, that's another common risk that we see among our clients. And something that we like to do first for all of our clients, and right off the bat, at no cost to you, is an operational risk assessment. That's where we have some civil engineers come through your business, and they take a look. We want to identify any unidentified risks so far. We want to make sure you're aware of where your current business stands and what the risks are, as well as we do a claims history analysis. So we want to look back at our claims, right? And say, what happened and why? Is this something that's been addressed? Is this going to happen again? do we need more coverage over here? And there may be areas, where you're lacking coverage right now. We want to be able to identify all of that. But that's no cost to you. It's something that we do for everyone. And so we also.
Is that time consuming? Because, I only have 8 employees.
Yeah.
So I can't really shut down the operation for this.
No, so we can do it while you're operating on a daily operation.
Okay.
That's honestly probably be best for us and our guys. They want to see
Be best for me too.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. But before we go any further, are these things that are interesting to you? You feel like these are stuff that's going to meet your needs?
Well, there's certainly things that are interesting to me, and things that, unfortunately or fortunately, wasn't aware of. So I thank you for bringing that to my attention. And that's why, I'm going to make a tough decision, switching, if I decide to switch from my current broker, to All American, but, bringing these to my attention gives me a lot to think about.
Yes, sir. I mean, look at some of the next to value-added services. We see that inclement weather is something that's definitely an issue down here in Florida. But as we see the data statistics in that industry growing even in the past 5 years, we've seen how those data models can help us predict your risk and help you have efficiency in the way you run your business and what we can cover for you. And ultimately, that will give you predictability and peace of mind, first and foremost.
Can you predict my growth?
Because
I'm trying to predict it now, so if you guys can help, I'd really appreciate it.
We'll try our best. Our job is to add value to your company first and foremost.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And another one we can look at is broker compensation. We want to be upfront too, is that we do a fee in lieu of commission. So we know that a lot of companies like to raise premiums. That means our income goes up, but we're going to be upfront with you and let you know that that's not how it works. We're going to get the best value policy and premium for you overall. And just let you know that we do it in a fee in lieu of commission.
Okay.
Does that sound like something that would meet your needs?
Well, I've never heard of that concept, but it sounds like,
Yes, sir.
as you said, if the rate goes up, your compensation goes up, and I'm still paying, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're gonna charge a fee for those same services, something to think about.
Yeah, especially within this hard market right now that insurance is in.
Yeah.
Everyone's premiums are going up, so.
If we flip over to the first page, we're going to talk about some of the other recommended coverages. We know, even in the past, since the pandemic started, supply chain issues have been really big in our economy, and we know a lot of companies have suffered because of that. And so we want to put you in the best position possible. And contingent business interruption is an insurance that will really help you cover for those expenses. If, say, for example, some employees cannot work and the pandemic comes up and it's an issue again, we want to have you best prepared for that situation. And then another thing we want to talk about is key person insurance. We know that the company is on you, your in-laws are on you, your wife, your kids, the whole company is relying on you. And we want to make sure that if anything happened, that you're prepared for that and your family business won't fall away or fall apart. But key person insurance will provide coverage that if something did happen, your family would be in the best situation. And we just want to keep your best interests in our minds.
Okay.
Overall.
All
Does that sound like something that will meet your needs?
Fortunately or unfortunately, I'm the key man, right? Yeah. So the buck stops with me, and so if there's some protection out there against that, I'd be open to it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Then kind of just to continue on to the other recommended coverages, that top box there, you're in a very tight labor market right now.
It's crazy.
It's hard to find employees. Yeah, our agency's going through the same thing, right? We've had turnover. It's the Great Recession is what they're calling it. So we were thinking about employee benefits. I think that's something that's going to be really helpful to your business as far as keeping employees long term, offering healthcare coverages, life, disability, 401k plans. We think you're going to be able to just retain employees for longer, right? And overall, that cost for employees and training is going to go down over time.
Okay.
The longer you can keep your employees. And then the other one that we kind of think about is your inventory and transit exposure, right? So we were thinking of stock throughput policy, maybe toying around with that. That's going to cover It's gonna cover the lighting from raw materials all the way to their finished products. It's gonna cover them from production to final destination.
Okay,
So it's gonna provide protection when they're in transit, when they're raw goods, when you're manufacturing, it's gonna be protected. And we noticed that you use third-party contractors for the deliveries and the transportation and shipping. And so that's something that we just kind of thought of, and especially kind of goes on along with supply chain risk. We want to make sure your product's protected, right? Because without the product, there's no business.
right,
Just as with key person insurance, without you, where does the business go?
Right,
What does your family do? So we're just trying to come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan, that's going to protect you, and hopefully we'll see your future grow in the business. But
so let's just go back to the inventory. So, I manufacture the lighting, as you know. Truck pulls up, we load it, goes to the job site, I third party the installation, and we just hope everything works out great. But while that lighting kit is on that truck, I just thought that the trucking firm, if something happened to the light, they would fix it.
Yeah.
Or make it whole.
Yeah.
And then the same way with the installation, right? I third party that out, I rely upon that service, and I just figured if he damaged it or got damaged in installation, that he would take care of that. So you're telling me that I may not have coverage for some of those things.
Yeah, unfortunately, kind of in that situation right now.
Okay.
Right? Someone's saying it's this person's fault. The other company's saying, no, it wasn't us, it was an act of God, right? And so this is going to cover you regardless. And that's something else, the contractual review that we do, the certificate of insurance, we are going to make sure all third parties are up and insured to their.
So would you help make recommendations to me as far as what I should have in those contracts?
Yes.
What I should have in those agreements?
Yes.
Right?
Adapts are.
Because they're older agreements. Let's be honest, they've been that way for a long, long time.
Absolutely.
And now I've got to make sure
Yeah.
that going forward, I'm protected.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so that's what those are gonna do, as well as the stock throughput policy.
Okay.
We wanna make sure everyone's covered in it, because nobody wants to take the blame when a claim occurs, right?
Right.
Unfortunately, just that's kind of how the hard market is, and capacity's been down, so,
Interesting.
yeah. But have we missed anything? Anything else that we can walk you through?
One of the recommendations you put up here was, business interruption, and you talked about my business going down because, when we had Hurricane Michael come through the panhandle, it certainly disrupted my business, and I always felt like in that process, I didn't have the right coverage or enough of the coverage, to pay for things that I thought should be covered under insurance versus me paying it personally out of pocket.
Yes, sir.
So, business interruption coverage, how does that work?
Well, the expenses that are estimated through your loss will be covered through this contingent business interruption insurance. And so whatever, say that supplier isn't able to produce a certain amount of lights that you need, or deliver it, or the delivery truck is blown away from a hurricane or something like that, it will meet those expenses and cover them from what you would have. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so when catastrophe strikes, that business interruption is gonna cover that. Then something else we were thinking about is umbrella. So let's say it does go over.
Like the traveler's umbrella? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
The big red one?
Basically, so let's just say the claims exceed, right, the maximum that they'll pay out. Well, that umbrella policy is gonna come in afterwards. So you're not gonna have to pay that out of pocket. So that's something else that we were thinking of. Umbrella policies typically aren't that much. They're not a high cost at all, because normally, very rarely does that happen where you exceed the policy. So, but that would take care of that as well.
Okay. And you would kind of recommend, because I don't have an umbrella policy now. I don't have the traveler's umbrella. So you would recommend maybe a limit
Yes, sir.
of what you think would be sufficient for my type of business?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if all of this sounds good, we would love to set up a follow-up meeting with you, and bring along, please feel free to bring along anyone on your side of the team, whether that's in-laws or other employees, who you like to talk things over with.
Yeah, well, through this transition, the buck stops with me now. Certainly, They still are my family. I married their daughter and have two of their grandchildren. So, but this is my decision. We're a small company. I want to make the right decision for this moving forward. And so, yeah, what you brought me today is something I need to really think about and consider. So if you think another meeting is beneficial, so
Yeah.
let's set it up.
Okay,
How does next Tuesday sound at about 8 a.m.? Does that work?
How about 9?
Oh, that works perfect.
nice,
Okay.
perfect, that works for us, and then we'll leave you.
Yeah, leave me a card.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you so
All right.
much. It was great meeting you.
Good meeting you.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Yes, sir.
All right, we're still live, so.